Well, it really wasn't exposing the business. It was exposing a situation that that went on. And what happened was that Ole Anderson had cornered me in the showers at TBS. And Wahoo McDaniel, it's too bad Wahoo's not living today, and he'd back me up on it. He says, look, we want, he says, me and Barnett want to book you, and we want to take 20% of your money. I said, you're out of your mind.
Book you out to other territories.
Yeah. I said, take 20% of my money. You're out of your mind. I mean, I'm in, and Wahoo looked at him and said, hey, you leave him alone. He's my guy. Right. And he said, well, if he doesn't do this deal, I'll fix him up. He won't work anymore. And I said, well, if you do that, Mr. Ole Anderson, I'm going to go on national television and I'm going to fix you up. And so that's exactly what I did. So what happened was, leading up to the 2020 story, Roy Shire had called me and said what was going on. The Sheik called me. I'm trying to think of the other two guys that called me. Then one of the referees called me, Steve, saying that Ole was trying to pay him $5,000 to plant coke on me, on my car and all that. He was a dirty son of a bitch, that guy. Ole Anderson's no good. God has got even with Ole, not me. God has got even with Ole. But leading up to this, that's where it all started. Okay. And what happened was, when I did my interview, they made me do the other stuff where they would tell the story. And then they lied. They didn't tell the story. They were supposed to interview Ole Anderson. They weren't supposed to interview Vince McMahon. Period. Or David Schultz. You can read that. I told him, if you interview David, he's going to slap the piss out of you. And exactly happened. They weren't supposed to interview David or Vince McMahon. I had nothing against Vince. I do not have anything against Vince McMahon today. Vince McMahon, to me, is what he's accomplished is genius. I mean, he's done, I don't agree with everything he does, but the guy has been a huge success. And how can you knock a guy for being successful? I'm certainly not going to knock a guy for being successful. I had nothing to do with them coming to see Vince nor David. So what happened was they went to see Ole. And so Ole lied and cheated his way and told him, you need to go up there and get Vince McMahon, because he wanted to get back at the Briscoes. If you notice, he was on the tape. Jack and Jerry Briscoe was on the tape with Murdoch. Right?
Right.
I've never watched the whole thing. I only watched clips of it. And I watched that specifically because he tried to nail my friends. And he wanted to get back to the Briscoes for doing that to him. See what I mean?
Yeah. How did you approach 2020? How did that even come about? Like, how did you?
I called him, and I had enough credibility that they wanted to take a look at it. But I said I wanted you to expose a business that's not paying their talent, and they're stealing all the money, and they're blackballing people. And then I had that. And when I say that is laid down by a Superior Court judge in Iowa with all the promoters signing about blackballing wrestlers. They've already admitted they've done it before. So now they're doing it again. So when I went into 2020, we did all the story. And after the story, they were going after David, and I had a fit. I went down and met with all the heads of the ABC and all this. I said, I'll go call another friggin' conference and say, you double-crossed me, and you went to Vince, you went to this, you went to that. You're not going to sue David. You're not going to try to take his house. You're not going to do any of that. Here's what you're going to do. If you're going to sue anybody, you're going to sue Vince, because Vince is the one that told him to do it. And you shouldn't be suing Vince because I told you not to interview him. Should have been Ole Anderson. So 2020 really didn't do justice by me at all. And sometimes I'm glad I did it, because it showed it put the industry in a huge light. What it did for professional wrestling, and it took professional wrestling out of the seedy kind of look it had to a big national spotlight. And what it did for wrestling to this day, after I did 2020, professional wrestling had the largest grossing year in their history the following year. And so I guess I didn't do that too. I really didn't hurt anything, did I? I just made the guys get paid more money. And I look at myself as a Kurt Flood of pro wrestling. And I freed the slaves, you know. I'm the modern day Abraham Lincoln.
Were you afraid about doing the piece at all?
I wasn't afraid. Afterwards, I got a lot of death threats.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, out of the NWA guys, I got a lot of death threats. Yeah, I certainly did. I had a lot of death threats, and so my deal with 2020 was they could never air that again, and they haven't, as you noticed. And so, but no, I caught a lot of flack. But the reason I caught so much flack is because they didn't do it the way it was supposed to be done. They double crossed me, and that little stupid damn snotty nose Ed Whitmore is the guy who did it. And then see where I have a problem is, and I love Bill Apter, but he was siding with the wrestling magazines and all that, and trying to discredit me at the time when he knew everything was the truth.
It's funny because Bill Apter called me a week ago when he found out I was going to sit with you, and he told me that, tell Eddie it wasn't my fault, that it was his boss that kind of blackballed you from the magazines. Did you talk to Bill at all down in
No, I didn't get to talk to Bill at all.
All right.
So what did Bill Apter say?
Bill said tell Eddie that it wasn't his fault for what he did to you in the magazines, and that it was pretty much he blamed it on his boss.
And I find it very strange that here's a guy that knocked me, right? And then he came out a few years later with what kind of magazine?
Oh,
that exposed all the business. So that's kind of like, okay, it's okay. It's bad if Ed did it, but boy, it's okay if I go make the money. If I hadn't put the spotlight on all this, there wouldn't be any shoot interviews. There wouldn't guys be writing books. They wouldn't have been able to make all this ancillary market money that they're doing. But I did it to show and to make promoters pay the guys more money and to help them get some health benefits. That was a whole deal. And you just can't blackball people because you don't like them.
Did you get paid for doing the 2020 piece?
No, I didn't get a dime.
Okay.
I did not get one dime. I reinvented myself. I went and learned television. I was in New York. I went and learned how to produce television. I had learned some in LA, but then I went and I learned how to be a television producer. And I started from the bottom and went right to the top.
Did anyone find out about 2020 before it aired? Did any of the boys find out at all or no?
Yeah, a lot of the boys, some of the boys knew.
Before it aired?
Yeah. Sheik was one of them.
What did he say?
Eddie Farhat. He's the one that sent me the tape with Jerry Oates on it. Jerry Oates, he would always badmouth all the guys.
Right.
You know, he would always talk behind people's back and you know, act like he was this, he was that. Jerry Oates wasn't nothing but a scumbag. And so I said, so he wants to be a star. So I said, hey, Sheiky, I said, send me that tape with me and Oates. And I said, I'm going to put that on 2020. And Sheik told me, stick it up their ass. That's what he told me. Because he knew what they were doing to me. And me and Sheik was very close.
Right.
And that's why I have a lot of
you would think because of Sheik's gimmick and, you know, he liked Kayfabe, his whole identity and all that he would be against you going out there and exposing it. But I guess you said he was...
I didn't expose anything.
Well, the blading and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, come on. Bottom line is, if you don't understand the blading or whatever, that wasn't a big deal. You know, that Kayfabe killed the boys. What I did made the business bigger than it ever was. I mean, blading didn't mean anything. Meltzer was already talking about that. How many other guys were already talking about it? And what does the people say about the guys working in the office of calling Dave Meltzer? Now, who in the hell is Dave Meltzer to be calling anybody? I mean, giving him finishes. And he's exposing the business way before that. I went on television to get the guys more money. Dave Meltzer hadn't made a damn one wrestler $1. Let's be honest. I went and finished up my career that already had been to help the guys make more money. Hey, if I hadn't have done that, it wouldn't be you. You wouldn't be able to do what you're doing. I mean, let's be truthful.
Did you know Jim Wilson
was really happening to the industry, and Vince got it. Vince says, by God, how am I going to be the best, biggest, and the greatest? I'm going to pay the guys more money. I'm going to give them revenue share from DVDs. I'm going to give them revenue share from merchandise. And that's what I was preaching a long time. And he got it. And he still got it. And that's why he's able, Rob, to do what he's able to do. Because he's paying these guys enough money to where they're living pretty darn good now. You know?
Don't you think you should be giving health benefits out to the boys?
Oh, he's not doing that?
No.
Oh, I thought he was. Oh, absolutely. Here's what I came up with, and you'll appreciate this being in the entertainment business. And I came up with this, 27 years ago. I said, being in Los Angeles, right? I said, how come, and I talked to Ron Fuller and all these other guys about it. I said, how come the boys can't join AFTRA? You know, American Federation of Television Artists. Hey, and we pay our dues and where we can get health benefits, where we can get insurance. Why can't we do that? We're not dealing with no damn union. You're not dealing with a union. The boys will deal with a union. Let us go pay our own. You don't even have to pay pension and wealth. We'll do that. Just let us have the opportunity, because the insurance was so freaking high, you couldn't afford it, man. I mean, who in their right mind is going to insure a professional wrestler? I mean, you can go get stuntman insurance, but it's high.
Right.
You know, I mean, how in the right mind is going to do a professional wrestler?
Going back to the 2020 piece, you had no idea they were going to interview David Schultz, and obviously the outcome was John Stossel getting slapped. What are your thoughts on that whole entire?
He got what I told him he's going to get. It's written in documentation. I told him, I said, if you interview David, he's going to slap the piss out of you.
Was that filmed after your stuff with
that? That was after.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many weeks did they tape?
They shot me. We did ours all in one day.
In one day?
Yeah. And then they were supposed to, they went to the Justice Department because of this. I had a lawyer that screwed me, all right, out of Atlanta. This right here was put down, United States District Court for the Southern District of Iowa, United States of America versus National Wrestling Alliance. And that was signed for blackballing wrestlers. And that was laid down. And back in October 15th, 1956. That's how old this documentation was. And when I found this, my lawyer was an ex for the Justice Department. Ex-lawyer, and I threw this at him. I said, how come you didn't do this? How come, hey, I'm giving you this now. You make sure that they do their job with the Justice Department. There's one thing the 2020 did do. They went and tried to get this done at the Justice Department. They really tried to do that. And I'm going to show you. It's signed by all of them, brother. And you know, when you look at it, every one of them. I mean, at that time, from Frank Tunney, Lubrith, Avery, I mean, it gives you territories. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Orville Brown, Cal Leeton in Los Angeles, Pinky George, Des Moines, Tex Haggard. I mean, it just goes down. Paul Jones in Atlanta, Toots Mott, you know who he is, in New York, Jim Crockett, Cola, Barry Light, Mike London, Cowboy Luttrell, that was in Tampa right before Graham. Right? I mean, it just goes all the way down the line. Roy Welch, which is Buddy Fuller. Okay? I mean, it just, and Billy Wolf.
What exactly is this documenting? Because some people might not know. They might not understand.
What this is, it was a complaint filed and argued that it entitled is an act to protect trade and commerce against unlawful restraints and monopolies, commonly known as the Sherman Act, as amended. So it tries to keep a monopoly like the NWA and all this other from becoming monopolies and blackballing guys. That's what this is a final judgment against them. They lost this case. And so when I showed that to my lawyer, he didn't know what to do because he didn't do his job. And so, you know, instead of keep wasting my money going down a bad street, I just went and put myself and said, screw it. I'm going to go find another job. I'm going to go be a television guy. And that's exactly what I did.
Did you ever get into any physical altercations after 2020 at all?
Oh, none.
Nothing.
None.
Were you surprised when Harley Race took part, I guess, in another special later that year and he wore a mask?
What I found is that is and I helped Harley this fan fest. He was losing his balance, and I went and got a wheelchair where he could go, push that. And I hate to see that. I just told the guy, whatever you do, don't ask him to sit in a wheelchair. Just have him push it. And it's funny that they will say that against me, right? But they don't say that against any of the rest of them. See, that's what the wrestling business is. That's how come the wrestling business could never have a union. It could never have anything. And you didn't go into the Jesse Ventura about how he tried to start a union and Hulk Hogan ratted him out.
Right, man. Yeah, go ahead. You can talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, and we all knew about it, and Hulk Hogan ratted him out. Hulk Hogan's about Hulk Hogan. He's going to rat you out. And, Hulk's fine with me. I have nothing to do with him. He has nothing to do with me. He started down in Pensacola, when we were down there.
Right.
And, but, he kind of turned on David Schultz later on. And he turned on a lot of guys. Turned on Jesse, who later became a governor. But see, instead of really helping the boys in a position, he turned his back on them. And so why should you really care about what happens to Hulk Hogan today? Now, hey, he had a great career. I mean, he did a lot for wrestling. But what did he do for the boys that helped make him the money?
A lot of people say that about Hogan, that he's for himself.
He is. And that's the problem. And, if I had to do it over again, the 2020, Rob, here's what I would do. Knowing the television business like I am now, I would have made sure I was there everywhere that they went with that camera. And I would have made sure that I went to that Ole Anderson interview. He wouldn't have got out of it.
I'm going to ask you some more questions about the actual 2020.
Okay.
Was there anything edited out of the piece that you wish was in there?
Oh, yeah, a lot. The interview with Ole Anderson.
Right.
I mean, he stole them away. And then Bill Apter was trying to, he kind of turned on me. And I'm so disappointed in that because I've only tried to help Bill in every single way when things went bad on him and things, you know what I mean? I've always tried to get things to help him. And now what did he say exactly again? I want to hear that again.
He had asked me, basically he wanted me to tell you that it wasn't him who got you banned from the magazines. It was his boss. And he didn't want you to blame him. I can call him later if you want to talk to him.
No, but that's fine. I don't, and I want you to keep that on this tape.
Yeah.
Because just to let people know that, hey, things happen even with friends.
Right. Actually, one of the questions I'm going to ask you about, do you remember reading the PWI where Stu Sachs wrote a column about you in 2020?
No.
I don't remember exactly what it was. I just remember it was you buried kind of.
No.
So, okay. Do you think that piece changed the business forever?
Yes. I think it changed it for the best. I really do. When you think about 2020, it changed it in a way. What it did is made professional wrestling really big again. It had lost its luster. You know what I mean? And so even though something bad, it was something good always comes out of something bad. And it just so happened to be my career that it had to come out of. But that's okay. It doesn't matter. What's done is done. And you can't correct it. I just wish it was been done right. The son of a bitch has double-crossed me. And instead of, Ole Anderson should have been the guy sitting there getting drilled, not Vince McMahon. But see, Vince is a smart guy. He doesn't care whether it's bad or good. He's going to take it. And he took it and rolled with it. It's just like he did when he took the money from Jim Crockett. He took that $1 million and went and did WrestleMania with it. And, the rest is kind of history. And so let's deal with 2020.
How did the guys treat you in the locker room after that piece aired?
I never was in the locker room after that until the IWF. And all those guys seemed to love me.
Probably because you were paying them.
Well, and I gave them the opportunity that no one else was doing.
Were you surprised that Vince exposed the business for a tax break years later?
Well, I'd always, it was really, I started all this years ago. I always said, why do we, and I still have my wrestling licenses in there, where we used to have to go to each commission and buy a wrestling license to perform. Okay, well, it's like I said, and I'm gonna show this program before we get off the air here in California. Why am I buying these? The boys are always having to pay. Okay, why are we paying for something that's an exhibition? Why are we paying? Why the greatest thing that ever happened was me on 2020, then Vince following, and are you mad at me? I didn't tell you a lie. Did I lie about anything? No, did I? Did I lie?
No, not at all.
Okay, what are you pissed off about? Kayfabe killed the damn business. Kayfabe it was made for the pro wrestlers to keep you stupid, to keep you under their thumb. That's why. Oh, that may kill the business. Can't nothing kill the business. I didn't even try to kill the business. I tried to help the business, and that's exactly what I did. And I'm very proud of it. I should have T-shirts made, Mr. 2020. That's what I ought to do, and have you sell them for me. But I'm very proud of what I did. I'm just really pissed off that they didn't do the story the right way.
I got a couple other questions regarding 2020. A cynic may say that your claims about being screwed by ABC is just a way to take heat off yourself for exposing the business. How do you respond?
A cynic may screwed me. Well, how come they didn't? I had no connections with Vince McMahon whatsoever. The only time I met him was probably 10 years later at Nappy,
Right.
Down in New Orleans. It's a national television program and executives. And I met him with Randy Savage. Shoot, it had to be 10 or 15 years later. That's the only time I ever met Vince McMahon. Why would I send someone to Vince McMahon? I didn't have the problem with Vince McMahon. I had it with Ole Anderson. And that's who I wanted to deal with. I don't go around Robin's barn to get to where I need to be. I wanted to deal with Ollie Anderson.
Right. One last question about 2020. You recently said that you're upset that 2020 called the business fake. Do you think that some people may find that hypocritical with the way you participated in the piece?
No, because they promised me they wouldn't use that word. Because the business is not fake. The business is predetermined, but the business is not fake. It's like I've said before, when you take a suplex off the top rope, or you take a power slam, or you take whatever, it's not fake. But, John Smartass wanted to use that, and because Ed Whitmore kept pushing that. They really wanted to call it wrestling. It's fun, but it's fake. And I had a fit. I wouldn't let him do it. And that's the exact title they wanted to use. And I said, hell no, you're not going to use that title. And so and hypocritical, how am I hypocritical?
Do you regret doing the piece?
I've already told you, I don't regret doing the piece. I regret the way it was done. I just wish that I could have been present to make sure the interview was done with the right people. As far as regret doing the piece, why would I? Why would I regret? Because that was the biggest, after that, it was the biggest year in the history of pro wrestling. And the guys started making more money than they've ever made because I shined the light on it. And it made it happen. No, I'm not ashamed. And I'm not ashamed of it. The only thing that I hate, that it wasn't done, it wasn't interviewed. Vince, I have nothing against Vince. I never worked for Vince. So I have nothing to say bad about Vince. It should have been Ole Anderson. That's the guy. But he was the best at always sending people to somebody else saying, oh, it's not me. I never did anything. Oh, my God. And that's what he did to those guys. He sent them right to Vince. He said, Vince is the one that's doing all that, killing the business, treating the guys that way. It never would happen here. Oh, hell, man, please. He was the factor of the 2020 piece.
Did Ole ever try to contact you at all after that?
Ole Anderson, no, ever. Jim Barnett did, though.
All right.
And I understand that Ole Anderson even slammed Barnett. I know I would never read his book, but I heard from some guy that publishes his book said he even slammed Barnett in his book. It wasn't for Barnett, he'd have never made a dime. So you see what I mean? So when you start looking at where the fingers are pointed, there's always three pointed back at you. What I had a real problem with, and I still do today, is wrestling fans think because you're on TV, this is called the myth. Let me explain the myth. The myth is where you're on TV, everybody thinks that you're rich and famous because they see you on TV each and every week. Well, in every other profession, that's the truth. But it's like I said before, Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, but Abraham Lincoln forgot to free the pro wrestlers. So I had to take it upon myself when they screwed me to free the pro wrestlers. And that's what I did when I did 2020. I freed professional wrestlers to be able to make the money that they're making today. And I'm very proud of it. And you know something? Every guy that you meet, I don't care who it is, that signed an autograph from you, have done anything for you in professional wrestling, has sat in a locker room or driven in a car or sat on a plane and bitched and moaned about the way he's being treated. Well, when they blackballed me, I had told them if this happened, I was going to do something about it. So what I did is I shined the light on the big two fat rats in the junkyard, and they had to start paying professional wrestlers. And now that's why you see the guys making the money they're making today. It's because of me. I look at myself as more like the Kurt Flood of professional wrestling. And I'm very proud of that. You know, you take it, guys, it's like I was at one of these fan fests, and you know, the audience were asking questions, and I said to them, I said, all you people sitting out here, think about this. What if one day you've done a great job for 10, 15 years. One day somebody walks into your job and says to you, guess what? You're fired. You'll never work again because I do not like you. Now, what would you do? When you're sitting there and you've worked as hard as you had and you've given your life and your blood, sweat, and tears and been stabbed and been whatever to this company, just because one asshole doesn't like you, they take your livelihood away from you. So what happens then? What would you do? Would you sit there and take it? Would you be a mouse or would you be a man? Well, I chose to be a man, not the mouse. So what I did on 2020, I made people pay the guys, but I wanted them to be paid. There's no middle ground in wrestling. And I'm going to finish this statement. I made them pay the guys. But you know something? Wrestling has no middle ground. There's either complete marks that are dumber than a friggin' stump or guys that want to cheat the guys out of money. There's a happy medium here, guys, that needs to be done like business is really done. You pay the guys a fair wage. Hey, let me tell you something. Just because you think you've been on TV, somebody shouldn't guarantee you $1,000 to come in if you ain't putting asses in the seats. I can tell you that. Bottom line is this. I'm not going to guarantee you $1,000. How many tickets you going to guarantee I sell? You need to be paid accordingly to what your ass draws. And that's been the problem with this business right now. This business could get back to being the right way and do the right thing because Vince does it right. He's not going to pay over 25 or 30% talent fees, period. And that's the way you run the industry. Not that, oh, okay, I'm going to give this guy $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 because I like him, and I'm going to mark out because he's going to come to my match. I give two crap about you and your marks. Hey, if you're not drawing money, you don't need to be paying that kind of money. You know, you pay a guy a decent, fair wage, but he's also got to pull his weight. That's just the way the business is.
Is there anything you want to say to your fans out there that you might not have ever had a chance to say to before?
Well, you know what I wanted you guys to know? I never came out and I never said anything, and I appreciate you guys supporting me all those years. And here's what I'd like for you to understand this, is that Eddy Mansfield didn't try to kill the business, nor was I a grumbled ex-professional wrestler. What I did to help the business, and I would do it again. I'll do it just a little bit better, though. And for all the people that put me down and say what they want to say, and some of the wrestlers can say that too, but each one of them are getting paid to do a shoot interview. They're getting paid to do a book, and they're getting up paid to do all this other, which without me, that had never happened. So in essence, I've helped the business evolve into where these guys are making money now and not like it used to be. And you know something? I didn't sit around and cry about spilled milk very long. I went and became a very successful television producer, and I'm very proud of that. But as far as wrestling, I miss wrestling. I missed you guys. It was great to see you when I'm out. And all my blessings are with you. And thanks for having me.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.